This is Chicago's massive stadium gamble, a vision that could reshape the windy city skyline but might also drain its bank account dry. With a jaw-dropping $4.75 billion price tag hanging over this project, we're not just talking about building a new venue, we're looking at a financial decision that could impact Chicago residents for decades. To understand what's really at stake here, I spent time digging into the numbers and the politics behind what could be the most expensive public stadium investment in American history. The current home, Soldier Field's legacy. The Chicago Bears have called Soldier Field from home since 1971, but this iconic venue has quite the story. Originally built in 1924 for $13 million, now that's about $240 million in today's money. Soldier Field was already considered a monumentally large investment at the time. It shows you just how crazy stadium spending has gotten over the years. Initially, Soldier Field could seat approximately 74,000 spectators and had the ability to accommodate over 100,000 for certain events. The stadium got its name in 1925 in dedication to U.S. soldiers who had died in combat during World War I. For decades, it served not just as a football venue, but as Chicago's premier gathering place for major events. The Bears moved there from Wrigley Field because post-AFL-NFL merger policies required that stadium capacity seat at least 50,000 spectators, as well as lighting for potential night games. But the controversial thing is that in 2002, Chicago decided to renovate Soldier Field. The renovation costed about $632 million, with taxpayers responsible for $432 million, while the Chicago Bears and NFL contributed $200 million. The result sparked controversy for its unconventional appearance, earning the name the mistake on the lake and resulting in the loss of its status as a National Historic Landmark. The renovation also reduced the seating capacity to 61,500, making it the smallest in the NFL. The new stadium vision. So what exactly are the Bears proposing now? The proposed new stadium will sit just south of the existing one where a parking lot currently stands. The new stadium would have a fixed dome made of transparent plastic, which is becoming the industry standard for modern designs. The Bears considered a retractable roof, but according to them, it would add another couple of $100 million to the construction cost. So they decided on a fixed translucent dome, which could let in a large amount of natural light. Based on the renderings, the north end of the stadium would have a giant transparent wall, which could let people inside the stadium get a view of Chicago's skyline. The proposal includes 14 acres of athletic fields and recreational park space for public and youth sports programs, creating a safe quality space for Chicago's youth. The new stadium will be capable of hosting large-scale sporting events year-round, including Super Bowls and NCAA Final Fours, as well as concerts and other events. Regarding parking, the new stadium will be constructed over existing double-layered lot, leaving people wondering where the tens of thousands of cars will go. One potential idea being considered is to double-deck the South Park lot, which could further enhance parking capacity and accessibility for fans. The Arlington Heights plan that changed the course. Before the current proposal, the idea was to build the future stadium in Arlington Heights. The plans were to build it on undeveloped land next to the Arlington International Racecourse, which sat nearly 25 miles from downtown. The land was purchased in early 2023 for just under $200 million, with intentions to construct a new $5 billion dome stadium on the site. Demolition of the site commenced on May 2023. However, disagreements over the property tax assessment led the Bears to reconsider alternate locations for their planned stadium. In March 2024, the village of Arlington Heights proposed a tax reduction in an effort to attract the team to build a new stadium there. But the Bears had already shifted their focus. This just goes to show how quickly these mega projects can change. With one disagreement over tax assessments enough to completely alter the location and scope of a multi-billion-dollar development. Why stadium economics usually don't work. The surprising matter is that the economists have studied stadium projects extensively, and the results are unpromising for taxpayers. In a comprehensive review of over 130 studied on sports stadiums from 1974 to 2022, the findings confirm that these venues bring minimal economic benefit to local communities, with public subsidies largely favoring team owners. Economist Victor Matheson explained in detail analysis that the fiscal reports produced by sports franchises have been shown to suffer from significant theoretical flaws that make their conclusions suspect at best and simply false at worst. These subsidies endure because costs are dispersed among taxpayers, while team owners and other concentrated interests have powerful incentives to lobby for public funding. If you found this breakdown helpful, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep findings in some major financial decisions affecting American cities. The reality is that when you build a new stadium, you're not really creating new entertainment spending in a city. You're mostly just redistributing existing entertainment dollars from another venue to the stadium. The political battle lines. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson has shown strong support for the project, but Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has voiced his significant opposition. Pritzker pointed to a recent multi-billion-dollar proposal in Kansas City that aimed to fund upgrades for the Chiefs and Royals stadiums, which voters strongly rejected through a sales tax referendum. In referencing this, Pritzker claimed that the current proposal is a non-starter for the state to subsidize a brand new stadium for a privately owned sports team. The governor needs to see a demonstrable and tangible benefit to the taxpayers of Illinois, something that has been very difficult to prove in statistics. The Bears are also facing opposition from Friends of the Parks, which announced their opposition to the project with a lawsuit looming. With all this pushback, Bears leadership is exploring private equity as a funding source and whether this would have any reduction on the amount required by taxpayers. The mind-blowing financial reality. Now, let's talk about the numbers that really matter, because this is where the proposal becomes truly amazing. The Bears say their new stadium project will cost about $4.75 billion in total. The Bears organization would cover approximately $2 billion, funding their share with private financing and a $300 million loan from the NFL. The remaining portion would come from public funding via bonds. However, the real concern here is that when you factor in refinancing, existing debt obligations, and additional infrastructure improvements, the total cost to taxpayers could reach $5.9 billion. Some officials say the overall cost to build and finance a new stadium would actually be $6.9 billion when all financing costs are included. Although this could mean a public contribution that is the highest ever for a stadium from a significantly wide margin. To put this into perspective, adjust for inflation, the cost of building the stadium, particularly in the US, has surged dramatically over the last 2 decades with no signs of slowing down. What this means for Chicago's financial future. Beneath the surface of this ambitious plan lies a heated debate that could determine not just the Bears' future, but Chicago's financial stability for decades to come. Now, we're talking about financing through 40-year bonds, which means residents could be making payments on this stadium well into the 2060s. The Bears argue that with everything included, it will result in more open space available to the city of Chicago, plus job creation and increased tourism. However, recent studies seem to have more consistently proven the opposite when it comes to actual economic impact. Chicago already faces substantial budget challenges. The city has struggled with pension obligation, infrastructure maintenance, and funding basic municipal services. Adding potentially $6 billion in stadium-related debt to that mix could seriously compromise the city's financial health for decades. An important distinction is that the stadium would be publicly owned rather than directly controlled by the team. While the Bears would still obviously gain most of the benefits, public ownership does add a layer of oversight and public stake in the project. With Bears leadership pushing for construction to start soon, it's clear that we'll be hearing more news on the subject in the coming months. The team is exploring private financing options that could reduce the taxpayers' burden. But the fundamental question remains whether any amount of public subsidy is justified for a privately owned sports franchise. Whatever the outcome may be, this isn't just about building a new venue. It's a financial gamble that could reshape Chicago's budget priorities and debt obligations for the next 4 decades. The stakes are enormous, not just for Bears fans, but for every Chicago taxpayer who could end up shouldering the financial burden of what could be the largest public stadium subsidy in American history. The question is whether Chicago deserves a world-class stadium. It's whether taxpayers should bear the financial risks while private owners reap the primary benefit, and whether this massive bet could leave the city financially crippled for generations to come. As always, I'm here to present the facts as accurately as possible, leaving it to you to form your own opinion about this massive financial decision facing the Windy City. I want to thank you for watching. Your support is always appreciated, and I'll see you next time. And if you want to see another massive stadium project that's creating controversy, check out my previous video, the $300 million Dodger Stadium fans already hate. You'll be shocked at the similarities.